Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast, the show where we uncover what really creates freedom in life and business. And we'll explore stories of those who've learned how to build wealth with purpose.
Welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast, the show where we go beyond the numbers, spreadsheets, and tax returns to talk about what really creates freedom in life and in business. Today, I'm joined by Dan Pascone, founder of Tailored Wealth, a firm that helps high-achieving professionals and business leaders take control of their financial lives through tax-smart strategies, personalized planning, and long-term wealth building. And welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
Then as we get started, tell us a little bit more about who you are and the work that you do.
Yeah, sounds good. In my past life, I was a corporate executive. So I spent the earlier part of my career always in financial services. In fact, the beginning of my career, I called on and supported financial advisors and planners. So I kind of learned the business from the other side, and I picked up a couple of nuances and learned a few lessons that I felt like would really resonate well if I were to ever start my own practice. And then I went to a small but growing fintech firm where I helped to kind of scale out and build out the sales operations, and that allowed me to kind of learn how to grow a business and really scratch the entrepreneurial spirit, if you will. And then that led me to wanting to run my own firm. So I've owned Tailored Wealth for almost 6 years now, and we are all about, you mentioned what this podcast is about, Daniel. Our slogan is to help our clients to design and live their version of a rich life. So I very much agree with what you mentioned up front, which is, there's a lot of nuances that go into the technical side of financial planning, advising, and wealth management. And we try to handle that to allow our clients to take their resources and live the life that they ultimately desire. And that's what I'm really passionate about. It's what I love doing every day. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning, if you will. And today we serve predominantly executives. I was a former executive, so I can kind of put myself in their shoes and understand the challenges that they face, the busyness and the intensity of their lives, both personally and professionally. And then the second subset would be business owners, because now I am a business owner. So I can relate to that group of folks as well. So those two are our predominant types of clients that we serve. And, we do comprehensive and custom financial planning as sort of the baseline of our offering. We start everybody with a custom financial plan because I believe that is needs to be the foundation for all future financial decisions. And then we evolve into what I call a long-term wealth partnership, which allows us to serve our clients how they need to be served based on their unique situation.
Oh, that's great. Let's dig a little bit deeper. I always love to hear the stories of what was that spark? What was that first thing that really led you into this world of advising? Was there a specific moment that you just kind of decided and this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I started my career at Prudential, and I was in annuities and asset management, retirement products, and we called on financial advisors and planners. And I just recognized that there were some really, really good advisors and planners that frankly didn't have the breadth and the scale of business that frankly I felt like they deserved, because they were great advisors and planners, but they didn't necessarily have the business development gene or the sales and marketing gene, if you will. So I had the idea and the concept many, many years ago, way before I actually started the business, that I wanted to bifurcate those two roles. I wanted to have the sales and marketing focus, and then I wanted to have really, really deep customer service, financial planning, analytical skill set for the folks that take care of our clients. And that's the model that we run today. So I probably had the idea, I don't know, it was probably 15, 20 years ago, something like that. And then when I went to the fintech firm, we were all about scaling. We were all about growth. And I just fell in love with that. And so that helped me to decide, I really need to be running my own business. And so I set up my business while I was still in an executive role, kind of laid the foundation, built the brand, figured out how I wanted to structure various different roles. And then the last few years, we've been really having a nice growth rate and bringing on great clients and ultimately some great team members as well to help serve them.
No, that sounds great. So if you had to sum up your mission kind of in one sentence, what would that be?
Live your version of a rich life.
That's a great great way to really describe what I think everybody wants. They just not quite sure know how to do it. So,
Well, the thing is everybody's is different, right? Rich life. I did a LinkedIn post on this this past weekend, and I described what's my version of a rich life, right? Like I described, here's how I feel like a rich life should be led for me. Everybody else's is uniquely different. So what we try to do is we try to combine sort of like the life needs, the life goals, the life aspirations with the financial plan and the financial resources. Listen, everybody's financial resources are different, right? I work with folks making 200K a year. I work with folks making 10 million a year, right? And everywhere in between, right? So I've seen various different sides of financial planning and how each individual and family's needs are very, very different. But it starts with defining, what do you want your life to look like? And then let's build a plan based on your resources to ultimately help you to get there. So what I find is the initial process is a lot of fact finding, a lot of learning, but it's also the client learning and thinking a lot about and doing some sort of deep thinking. And a lot of times if there's partners or family involved, a lot of good collaboration and conversation around what do you really want out of life? And then we'll help you to build a plan to get there. But what I love about this business is no two plans are the same. No two clients are the same. No two goals, no two versions of a rich life are the same. But what I always say is figure out what you want your version to be. And we can help you a little bit with that. And then we can really help you to map out the path to get there.
yeah, I really like what you said. I mean, it all really depends on not only what they want, but where are they starting from. So depending on where they already are is going to determine where they're going. But, if you find out where you're at, where you're going, then you can also start building different things that will actually help them to get there, right?
100%.
Yeah. So what's been the most exciting kind of work that you are doing lately as far as, how you're working with your clients?
Yeah, so I'll break that down into two different sides of the business. I'll start with the front end side. We do a lot in the way of content, Daniel. So, like as you know, we have a newsletter, we have a YouTube channel, we have a podcast. We're very active on social right now. LinkedIn probably being our predominant one, but we're also become very active on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter X. So I really, really enjoy creating content and education around some stuff that's a little bit more technical from a finance perspective, although I try to keep those fewer and far between because they don't get, frankly, as much engagement, but a lot of stuff around what you and I were just chatting about. Living your version of a rich life. And right, how do you actually do that? Right. So we create a lot of content around that. And I just love hearing from friends, colleagues, connections, centers of influence, clients, and everyone in between that they enjoy our content and that it helps them to think more about living their version of a rich life. So that would be the front end of the business. As far as the clients are concerned, we just finished a back office transition, which is allowing us to open up and have more and more services available to our clients, which I'm really, really excited about. I'm having phone calls with clients right now to explain what this means to them. But we now have a trader in-house. We've got an integration between our financial planning software and our portfolio management system that allows us to essentially design portfolios based off of what the client's looking to accomplish, right? So it goes back to that living your version of a rich life. But how does that look from an actual money management perspective? Well, you might say, hey, Dan, I have a goal that I want to buy a vacation home in 5 years. And then I want to retire somewhere in the next 10 to 15 years. So we'll say, okay, great. We're going to design one portfolio for the vacation home. It's going to be a little bit shorter term focused because we know that we want that cash to be available. And then we're going to design the retirement portfolio to be a little bit longer term focused. And most clients have a whole group of portfolios that are all managed for different objectives and different goals. So I really, really like the idea of being able to manage portfolios based on life goals and not just based on how do I outperform the S&P 500, because who cares at the end of the day, right? It's all about accomplishing your life goals. So that's something that we're excited about. We're bringing tax preparation in-house. We're bringing estate planning in-house, which is really exciting, and doing a few other, I think, fairly cutting edge things on the technology front. So pumped about the added services that we're going to be able to bring to our existing clients and anyone new that we connect with in the future.
Yeah, no, that sounds really exciting with what your firm is doing. You touched on this a little bit. Who are really the clients that you love serving the most? Maybe paint a little bit more of a picture. I know you just kind of mentioned who they are, but can we go a little bit deeper on that?
Yeah, we can. We certainly can. So, when I came into the business, I wanted to serve hardworking executive level leaders because I had been there. I had been in their shoes with, compensation that's a little bit complicated, right? Whether it be base salary and some form of bonus or variable compensation or commission or whatever the case may be. Maybe some performance bonus, maybe some equity. We deal with a lot of clients that have equity or company stock. And I had been there. So I know it was confusing for me when I was in the role, and I wanted to help people in that space. If you go a level deeper, we serve a lot of go-to-market or revenue leaders because they typically have the most complex compensation. And that was the role that I was in the past myself. So it doesn't need to be a go-to-market or revenue leader, but we started with this foundation of we want to serve executives that have not only complexity within their financial package and their compensation package, but also complexity within their life. They've got families, they've got work commitments, and they want to be able to take the financial obligations to some degree off of their plate and place it with someone that can hopefully, multiply their wealth over time and give them a lot of time savings and peace of mind. So that was client number one. Client number two kind of evolved as time went on because I now, as a business owner, started to operate in, get connected with, and communicate in of a bunch of different business owner communities. And I, became really, really passionate about the idea of entrepreneurship. So I got connected with other business owners, and so that's been a growing subset of clients for us. And we've actually brought on a team member that's really focused on business owners because he has that expertise. So those would be the two. But in a nutshell, Daniel, we're not typically dealing with retirees. We're dealing with folks that are in the prime earning years of their careers that are looking to build and grow towards something in the future, right? That's when I feel like our process can most help our client base. And the fact that I don't plan on ever really retiring. They know that our firm's going to be around to help them for many years in the future. So I think that there's some peace of mind in that as well. And then maybe a concept that I'll just allude to here, if you want to go deeper on it, we can. But we've coined this term hybrid retirement, which I'm really, really passionate about, which is all about helping hardworking professionals get to some form of flexible work, right? That's not as taxing, to use your terms, on them personally, so that they can have a lot more control over their time, their purpose, and they still have an income coming in, but they can sort of name their hours if they'd like to.
Yeah, I love that concept because I think this whole hybrid idea, personally, I believe the same thing. I don't believe that I will ever retire. I still personally believe that retirement is more of an experiment. It's a failed experiment because
Sure.
I have met a lot of people that have retired. And especially if you're, a busy executive or even a business owner, you'll go on vacations and not that you're always thinking and you can't unplug, but you know what? Being on a permanent vacation sounds like something that's actually, most people are very uncomfortable with that. So getting to that retirement, it's like, hey, how can I go and still be, and you mentioned that, feeling like I still have a purpose, but at the same time kind of pull back. And I'm working not because I have to, but because I want to and I enjoy it. And I think that's kind of changing for a lot of people. So that's great that you and your firm are moving in that in that direction.
100%. And the thing that I'll add to that is it's more available in today's remote working age or hybrid or virtual working age, whatever you want to call it, than it ever was before. Because if you have a laptop, you can work. Right. And, the most of the clients that I speak with, even new clients that come on board, they say to me, Dan, I'd like to be done with what I'm doing now in some point in time, 3, 5, 10 years, whatever the case may be. But I don't ever want to stop working. And so I think you combine the idea with flexible and virtual work, along with this rise in fractional and consulting and sort of paying for specific skill sets and expertise. So now you have the ability to build something that you can do past your regular working years, if you want to call it that, and well into retirement, but you have the ability to do it on your own terms, make your own hours, do it where you want to do it. And I've seen folks transition into that life and it be very, very fulfilling and rewarding because it keeps them sharp. It keeps them engaged. They're doing the work that they love. And again, the work that one person loves is different than another's. I've had people say, I want to do a consultancy. I've had people say, I want to start my own small business. I've had people say, I just want to go work for a philanthropic organization. I want to give back with my time or whatever the case may be. So I've seen that concept play out and how fulfilling it can be. So I'm very, very passionate about helping people to accomplish that, in their future.
And just like in anything, what I love about what you just mentioned is start planning for it ahead. I think one of the greatest advice that I received from a coach that I worked with, he said, Daniel, whenever you're moving into something, the number one question you have to ask is, what is the exit strategy, right? What's the most important thing is how do you get out of something, not how you get into it. Because the getting into it is a lot easier than getting out. And I think often people don't start thinking about exiting wherever it's their work or business until they're so far in it that they basically have to almost break everything down and start all over again, rebuilding it so that they can exit, because most, unfortunately, business owners, they run into this challenge where they want to leave their business. They just realize that they are the business and they really can't get out of it. So you having that conversation as you're meeting with clients where they are 5, 10, 15, even 20 years away from that, they start to think that way and they can actually design their work and their life around that idea. Hey, this is what's going to happen, and then you can transition, and then you have the options. It could happen sooner or it could happen later, right? But at least you have those options. So,
yeah, I love what you said there, Daniel. So the financial planning process, I always tell folks, is dynamic. It's always changing, right? You build a plan, but it will always change. It changes based on life. It changes based on markets. It changes based on tax rates. All of that stuff will affect the financial plan over time. But the key is to have a foundation in place and understand where you're going. And what I would tell you is it happens to me with such a high degree of regularity where we'll bring someone on and we'll talk about the financial plan. And then we'll talk about this concept of hybrid retirement. And you know what it prompts them to do? It prompts them to go map out, well, what am I going to do within my career? Or what am I going to do to start building my own business? Or what am I going to do to build my own consultancy or do my philanthropic work? Whatever that case may be, let me start to prepare myself for that on the career side. And then that will line up with the financial plan. I had this literally happen late last week where I was talking with a higher ranking executive. She's a high earner. She's the breadwinner in her family. She's got kids. And, we talked about this concept and she's like, oh, I really, really like that. And she came back with the next call and she had started to map it out. She started to say, well, these are the options that I'm thinking. This is what it could look like. And, the nice thing is she has several years before she would even consider, moving into that. So now she's got several years to plan it out, to start to build it, maybe to start to even test it out while she's still in the corporate role and earning a high paycheck. It's fun to see those things play out. And it's fun to see people's light bulbs get lit up by this concept and then go start to plan for it on the career side.
yeah, no, you bring a great point because it's that whole idea of a lot of business owner executives, they're pushing so hard with what they're doing. You are allowing them through a financial plan to actually pause and rethink, why am I doing what am I doing and where is it that I'm going? So it gives them that, that opportunity to really kind of, do a bit of a reset from the perspective of rethink what they're doing. And that's a beautiful example that you just mentioned, right? Like somebody that's like, hey, you know what? I haven't really thought about it. They paused on it and now they have a, bit more of an idea, not just around finances, because I always tell people, you're an advisor. And, the financial business is never really about money. It's about what money allows you to do. And that's where really financial plan, comes into place. And also like what you mentioned, most, a lot of individuals don't realize that the plan itself, as soon as you deliver it to somebody, it's already outdated. Things have already changed from when you got the numbers. It's just a timestamp where the whole idea of the planning is that it just says, hey, you know what, this is where I'm today. This is kind of where I like to go with the plan that I have. Yeah, I'm heading in the right direction. And then it's a matter of, having these check marks to make sure that you're actually heading in the right direction. And you bringing it across to the ultimate vacation that somebody's going to have in retirement. Really rethink it, what that actually means to somebody is really crucial and important.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have a couple of different, client models that we offer. And the first that I always present is financial plan only. So we'll just build and deliver the financial plan to you. And then we've got two others that require an ongoing partnership. I've never once had someone take me up on the financial plan only, which is, I think I sort of position it properly that way because that's not where the most value is. To your point, it's laying that foundation and then evolving it, growing it, and having that partnership over time.
Well, the whole idea is in any business, and this might sound a little bit counterintuitive or self-serving, but your goal is to go and disturb people so that you solve the problem that they feel they have, but you create a whole bunch of other problems or challenges. And you actually asking the question, what do you want to do in retirement? This whole hybrid idea actually does that perfectly because it actually helps them to pause and think and start to rethink where they're actually going. And this is essentially where you're creating a great option for you to actually help them to get there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So where do you think that people unintentionally leave money on the table, when they're kind of doing the planning, and where does the role of your planning really close the gap?
Yeah. The biggest place that I see real dollars given away is through taxes. And I'll be a little bit more specific about that. I always tell folks the tax code is written for business owners. It's not written for W-2s. So if you're a W-2 high earning executive, there's some things you can do to reduce your taxes in the near term. There are. And the tax code's evolving and changing. So you want to have someone that's up to speed on that. But the biggest thing you can do is set yourself up for a reduced and maybe even a tax-free retirement. Right? The most wealth is given away when you are drawing from the assets that you've accumulated and you're paying far too much in taxes on that. Okay. And that happens all the time. I mean, I had a high earning executive that came to us ready to retire and she wanted us to do tax planning for her. And, I unfortunately had to tell her there's not a whole lot I can do to save you in your taxes in the next year or two. I can save you a lot over time, but I can't save you a whole lot in the year or two because we're starting this process too late, right? So that's why I always urge folks to start the process as soon as possible because time is obviously on your side when you talk about compounding interest, when you talk about compounding growth, but time is really on your side from a tax planning perspective, right? So I talk about this concept, Daniel, of tax diversification. So everyone's familiar with asset diversification or investment diversification, but tax diversification is spreading your assets across three different buckets. You've got the standard taxable bucket, which is your after-tax savings and brokerage accounts. You've got the tax deferred accounts, which is your 401ks and your IRAs. And then you've got the future tax-free account. That's your Roth, your HSA, your health savings account, your 529 plans, et cetera. And we want to find out what's the right mix for each individual and family leading up to retirement. And then what that allows us to do is develop a distribution or an income strategy in retirement that gives us optionality. So we've got these multiple different buckets and we can tap into various buckets oftentimes in a year, but change up the proportions based on what your tax situation looks like that year, tax rates, et cetera. So I'm always a fan of diversifying across those three buckets, and the financial plan helps give real guidance around how much should you be investing in each bucket when, and then when you ultimately get to retirement, you create that distribution strategy around where it comes from.
Yeah, I think you bring a great point when it comes down to, financial planning. There really isn't a, one size fits all, and unfortunately, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That doesn't work in the financial planning, as you kind of mentioned before. So can you walk us through what the tailored, plan actually looks like in practice, especially for, executives or business owners?
Yeah, so we call it the tailored planning process, and to your point, you mentioned it. It's different for each individual and each family. That's why our name is tailored, because it's all about being custom. So what I tell new prospective clients, Daniel, is our process is the same. We know the process works. We execute the process because it's been proven. And so why vary from that, right? It's just like any successful business has a successful process, right? So we have a process, which I'll explain to you. But the outcome is very custom. The outcome is very specific to the individual and the family and their goals and their resources and all of those things. But we start the process. We first start with an exploratory meeting because I want to figure out, are we a good fit for you and are you a good fit for us? I always tell prospective clients, we're going to spend an hour. Half of it's going to be talking about you. Half of it's going to be talking about us. The first half, we're going to see if we feel like we can help you. And the second half is going to be, do you want us to help you? Okay. If those two things align, and I have a whole framework for like figuring out if there's a good mutual fit. If those things align, then we move forward and we give access to our financial planning software. We give a tutorial on how to get a profile set up in the software. And then we do what we call a data review meeting. So the data review meeting is to review that all the information that's entered was correct, accurate, and that we have everything aligned that we need to go and build the plan. Then our team goes and builds the financial plan. We come back and we present it in what we call the tailored plan presentation. And within the presentation, we go through the software, we go through the goals, we go through our recommendations to help them get to their goals. And then there's a summary document I call the roadmap that's produced that showcases our assessment and our recommendation in each of the 6 key financial planning areas. Okay. So we give them that. They have access to the software from there on out. Then the last step is what we call the implementation meeting. The implementation meeting is a separate meeting where we're actually taking the recommendations that we made and we're getting them in place, right? It might be setting up a different retirement account or changing the contributions or investments to a retirement account. It might be, setting up a trust or a will or insurance if that's needed. It might be reallocating a portfolio or getting a more tax efficient strategy to manage that portfolio. There's a list of different things that we go through at that point in time, but we get them implemented. And then once the plan is implemented, our process is to do what we call quarterly strategy sessions, where we meet with our clients on a quarterly basis to review the plan, to review their assets, make any changes to your point earlier, because there will always be changes. And then we have an educational topic that we cover in each quarter to help them to be, more financially aware and educated, both the clients and oftentimes their family members as well, if that's relevant.
So you talk about kind of optimizing today and optimizing tomorrow. Is there a specific example that maybe you can give for a client that really serves as example for that and how life-changing that was for them?
Yeah, I'm going to think about a client that I spoke with yesterday, actually. So it's a timely one. So this individual is going and buying a new house, which is great. Happy for them. And so we were talking about the today stuff being, which portfolio are we going to take some capital to put into the house? Part of it's down payment, part of it's some renovations. How does that affect the broader portfolio? So how do we need to reallocate to make sure that everything is now set based on this large transaction that they're about to go through? And then we chatted a little bit about retirement and where his retirement allocations were going to go in the future. He was overweight in his tax-deferred account, meaning the 401k and IRA. He was underweight in the Roth side. So what we did was we reduced down the tax-deferred contributions. We pumped up the Roth contributions because that's going to give him better tax diversity, as I mentioned earlier, tax diversification in the future. So one was the short term, helping with the house. 2 was the longer term, focus on retirement.
That's a great example. Now, for you personally, what values really guide the way you serve your clients, just beyond the numbers?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I always tell folks, there's a few things that like need to come together for us to be a good fit of working together. I call it our 5 Ps of an effective wealth management partnership, right? And these are like the values of our firm, and I want them to understand them and align with them. And I always say, if we don't align on any of these, we're not a good fit and we should not work together. So I start with our purpose, right? And I believe all businesses need to have a purpose other than making money. I told you ours earlier. It's help you to design and live your version of a rich life, right? Then we talk about philosophy, right? And philosophy is, what is your philosophy on managing this business? There's a lot of different ways that financial planners, financial advisors, wealth managers, agents, brokers, whatever you want to call them, can operate in this business. There's a lot of optionality here. I believe in my philosophy is the financial plan is the foundation. The wealth management partnership comes next. And then this whole other suite of services is offered as needed. So that's our philosophy. The next thing we talk about is people. So there's a lot of data, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of models and resources that go into an effective financial planning and wealth management partnership. But at the end of the day, you gotta like working with the people, right? If you don't enjoy the people that you're working with, you shouldn't work with them, even if you think they're the best financial planners or advisors in the world, right? So that's step number 3. Step number 4 is process. So I talked to you through our process earlier, but I always say, if you don't believe in and aren't willing to commit to our process, we're not a good fit for you. Okay. So I walk through that process. And then the last one is price. And I think our industry oftentimes gets a bad rap because of lack of transparency in our pricing model. So I try to be super crystal clear about the transparency that we have with our pricing model. Everything that we quote our clients is everything that they pay. There's no hidden fees. There's no transaction costs. There's no platform fees or any of that. All of what we quote them is what they pay. So if we align on those 5 Ps, I always say that it will make for a successful partnership. And if we don't on any of them, it's probably not the right fit.
Yeah, no, those are great values, and I love the whole idea of the framework of the 5 Ps. Now, what does financial freedom really mean to you more on the personal side? How would you define it, and how has it evolved over time?
Yeah, it's interesting. My view of it has definitely evolved over time. And, as I mentioned to you earlier, I was a corporate executive working a lot of hours, traveling a lot. And don't get me wrong, I still probably work more. I do still probably work more hours today than I ever did, Daniel. But what I love about it is I do it on my terms.
Mm.
I'm a very regimented person. I'm a very calendar driven and schedule operated person. So I like to map out my weeks, a lot of times weeks in advance, but even my weekends, I like to know what I'm doing, where I'm going. And I don't mind. I actually enjoy working on the weekends because it allows me some kind of critical thinking time and to get stuff done when there's less noise going on in the day to day. But I do it around stuff like, I coach a lot of youth sports. I coach my kids' sports, so I'm a youth sports coach, and I love that. That's a passion of mine. I do it around spending time with family and loved ones. I do it around moments and trips and experiences that I want to have for me or my friends and my family. So that's what it means to me, is just having control over your time and being able to take and do the experiences that you want to do without regret. That's the key.
Mm.
Without some level of regret, right? I was just went out to Texas to play in a golf tournament with my brother. And you want to be able to do stuff like that without the regret from a financial perspective and without the regret from a time perspective. Because if you do have that regret, you're not enjoying it, right? And what's it all for? So that's what it means to me, is really control over the time and being able to take those experiences without any levels of regret.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great definition, and yeah, it's you can't be at 2 places at the same time, right? So if you're somewhere, enjoy it when you're there. Don't be thinking about that you should be somewhere else, because yeah, that's kind of counterintuitive when it comes down to it. Now, when you
Yeah, and
think
I've learned
about
a lot about delegation too. Sorry, Daniel. I've learned a lot about delegation too. In fact, I have a friend who is a career um, specialist and compensation negotiation specialist. He does a really
Mm,
nice job with high level executives. And he wrote a newsletter last week that I just read over the weekend. And he was nice enough to feature me in it. But it was all about how high level leaders delegate out other roles in their business and in their lives
mm,
so that they can focus on the things that they want to be spending their time on personally and professionally. So I've become a big believer in that concept of having specialists in my business and specialists in my personal life that do the things that, as I say, don't bring me joy. If it doesn't bring me joy, then I want to have someone else spend time doing it.
yeah. I think that all becomes part of the plan, right? You got to decide where you want to be, and you doing work that you don't really enjoy is not part of that, part of that freedom. So when you think about your legacy, what do you want your business and your life to stand for?
That's a pretty deep question. What I would say is I want to leave a mark in this universe, and there's a couple of like components that are really, really important to me. I want a client base that gets to live their version of a rich life and really, really feels like the services that we provide them help them to do that, right? I love getting client testimonials. I love getting feedback from our clients. And we're still a fairly young firm. So like that's going to play out over decades, right? But a client base that firmly believes that we help them to live their version of a rich life. I want a team. I'm a big leadership guy. I've managed large teams in the past. So I want a team that feels like they have an amazing, amazing place to work, right?
Hmm.
That they're excited to come to work every single day. And that's really, really important to me. And I think that if you have that, then the client experience just becomes that much better, right? When you've got people that are really jacked up and excited to go to work. And I am jacked up and excited to go to work. So I want my team members to be as well. Um, and then, the last two things would be more personal focus would be that, my family, I allow, not that I can control all of this, but I give all my family members, people that are close to me, the opportunity to, do the things that they love, the opportunity to do the things they love in any way, shape, or form. And then lastly, leave a legacy and do good. And, so I have a couple of philanthropic organizations that I'm actively involved in, and I like to spend time there. And I think that if you're a business leader and you have philanthropic goals, your expertise for like nonprofit organizations can be super super valuable. So that's something I enjoy doing as well.
Again, that gives you more of that purpose. Now, you've built some, powerful tools and resources where it might be your scorecard, your newsletter, you got your YouTube channel. Why is education such a big part of your mission and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a learner, Daniel. I'm always like attracted to growth focused individuals that like to learn. So my whole concept was if I find other people that want to learn about these topics, those are going to be the clients that I'm going to enjoy working with the most. So we just started is probably about 2 years ago, we just started producing content and, I get better at it every day. I don't claim to have it figured out yet by any stretch, but I get better at it every day. We just started putting out content that we felt was educational and would resonate with the types of individuals that we work with. The hardworking professional that's really, really busy and has a lot going on personally and professionally, right? So I wanted to make content for them. So it started with the newsletter. That was sort of a passion project. And then what I learned was, a lot of these concepts can resonate on other platforms as well, whether it be social media, whether it be YouTube. And the podcast has been the newest one that we've done. And I'm really, really enjoying the podcast because all of the other platforms are about me sharing ideas, concepts, strategies. The podcast allows me to bring on and learn from guests. And
Hmm.
we've had guests, the Making Sense of Your Money podcast. So we've had guests from all walks of the financial world. And I learn something new every time I bring on a guest. And I've really, really enjoyed those conversations. So long story short, I like working with people that enjoy learning. So I think we connect and resonate well with each other. And I believe in just giving back. And I think that, producing education helps you to give back and get connected with the right people. And if we're a fit, then great. And if we're not, we'll try to help you find the right fit for you. But it also, I'm sure you've seen this in your work. If you produce the right content for the right people, then it really helps you to avoid this whole idea of like a sale process, right? And I'm a former sales leader, so I get that really, really well. But I always tell folks, if you want to figure out if you think we're a good fit before we even talk, go watch my YouTube channel, go read my newsletter. Because if that stuff resonates with you, we should chat. And if it doesn't, and it's not speaking to you, then we're probably not the right fit. So it allows us to connect with the right people through, good free education.
Yeah, no, it opens up the relationship, and as you mentioned, they get to know you before, if they want to go that route. Now, what's that one piece of advice that you find yourself kind of repeating often? Sometimes you wish that more people really understood, about building lasting wealth. What would that, what is that?
It's just about having a plan that that you can point to. Like at any given time, I can go point and say, I have a plan, right? So sometimes people think, oh, I do my budget monthly, or I look at my retirement accounts quarterly, or whatever the case may be. that's not a plan. I believe that you need to have a plan that's documented in place that you can go and you can access. And we have a software that we think is the best way to do it, but you can do it in Excel, you can do it in Google Sheets, whatever the case may be. But I would say you have to have that plan that you can go point to and have some level of recurring check-ins to make sure that it's updated, to your point earlier.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So Dan, as we're closing the show, I've got 5 more questions that I'm going to ask you. The first 4, they're a little bit more rapid fire. Basically,
Sure.
just even one word answer might be enough to go and answer. We can expand on it a little bit. But what's your favorite book that really shaped your thinking and how you help your clients?
That's a good one. I'm a big reader. I'm going to give you one because it is around learning. Limitless.
Yeah, that's a great book. Now, is there a morning routine or habit that you can't live without?
Yeah, I'm a big routine guy. I'm a big morning routine guy. So, I like to start my day with a workout, gets my energy going. And oftentimes that's where I'm doing just high level thinking, right? And I oftentimes will listen to a podcast while I'm exercising, because that kind of gets my juices flowing and allows me to think. So I just, whether you like working out or not, I think if you're thinking while you're doing it, you just kind of get lost in it. And then next thing you know, it's over, right? Like next thing you know, it's over because you've just been thinking about ideas and stuff the whole time. But I always think that having, protecting your energy, protecting your health is first and foremost. So, because without that, I can't do what I do. I can't help people the way that I want to help people, whether it be personally or professionally. So that's that. And then what I also like to do is I like to I'm a pretty early guy. I like to try and read and meditate in the morning as well. And if I can get all those 3 things done, then my day is set up for success.
That's great. What's one bucket list item that you haven't checked off yet?
It's interesting. I often ask on my podcast, give one bucket list item that you have checked off already, but I like this one. A lot of my bucket list stuff is, I've got some things, some goals that I'll save around my business and where I want to go. But a lot of my bucket list stuff is around experiences. Next one I want to do is the Kentucky Derbies. I want to go to the Kentucky Derby.
That sounds great. What's a hobby or interest that recharges you?
I mentioned exercise. I think that definitely recharges me. I would say golf, but I'm not sure that always has that end result, to be honest with you. You know what? Coaching kids sports, recharges me for sure. Because, if you could, there's a lot of parallels in coaching kids to running a company. And, whenever I'm with the kids, it makes, a lot of the stuff that we may stress about on a day to day seem a lot less important. So that would be it.
That gives you a bit more of a perspective.
Exactly.
Along with the golf and teaching kids, maybe the frustration is the same, but there is a much better outcome when you're actually helping.
They all have frustrations, absolutely, and they probably help us to channel it for sure.
Yeah, no, that's great. Now, the last one, I call it the hard one. Fast forward to the end of your life and imagine that everyone has forgotten everything you ever taught them or showed them, but they do have an opportunity to remember that one last message from you. What would that one message be?
Learn. That's it. Learn. If
Yeah.
you make learning a habit that you, especially in today's day and age, I mean, like the information is just everywhere. But if you have a consistent process for learning, you can figure anything out.
Yeah, that's what. Dan, what a powerful perspective shifting conversation that we had. Thank you again for sharing your journey and your frameworks and really your heart. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate that. So you can check out 2 different sides. Our website, if you want to learn more about us, our process is yourtailoredwealth.com. So yourtailoredwealth.com. You can also check out our content hub at makingsenseofyourmoney.com. Makingsenseofyourmoney.com. That's where the resources that I mentioned to you earlier fall. And then you can always find me on social. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's at Dan Pascone, and I'm at Dan Pascone on Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook as well.
Perfect. So if you're listening, be sure to check out Dan's website and explore the tools that he's created to help you design a more meaningful financial life. Dan, thank you again for your time and for your message. And remember, making life less taxing isn't just about money. It's about freedom, clarity, and purpose. Keep building wealth, keep protecting your legacy, and keep living the untaxable lifestyle. We'll see you next time on the Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for having me, Daniel.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Be sure to check out our other top advisor interviews at makelifeLessTaxingPodcast.com.